Second. They are. Is there any further discussion? Brandon, would you please call the roll?
Murray Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges, forthcoming. Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye. Listen, it could be that it passes, although we'll hear about eyes and it's online. I don't have any other announcements, so we'll move into public comments, and we have 1 hour for public comment. Each person will come up to the xylophone and say a piece and direct your comments to the board.
First up is Quill Onstead. Quill, you are allowed to talk. You may unmute.
Hi, my name is Quill Onstead and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour as a gender queer member of the library community. Opponents of Drag Queen Story Hour love to bring up an alleged former mission statement for Drag Queen Story Hour, the nonprofit. I did a little bit of digging between board meetings and discovered that the National 501c3 nonprofit, formerly known as Drag Queen Story Hour, rebranded Drag Story Hour in 22 to make it more inclusive. As far as everything okay?
Can you text him and tell him that we cannot hear him in the thoughts, please?
Yes, that is.
Are we having technical difficulties? Unless you give me an indicator, I'm going to keep going. All right. I did a little bit of digging between board meetings and discovered the National 501c3 nonprofit, formerly known as Drag Queen Story Hour.
Can you provide any troubleshooting tips?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, we're messaging.
What is going on?
We don't.
I suspect his mic is not working. I'm not sure what to do other than.
Yes, they can hear him in the Zoom though, so his mic is
They
working.
can't see here.
I'll get out of your way.
Will, can you speak?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Do you need me to submit my comment in written form? Can you hear me now?
Go back to speakers.
Can you hear me now?
There, I can hear him.
Can you hear me now?
If you speak as loudly as you can, Quill, we can hear you.
Copy that. I will project a little bit more. Should I restart?
Yes, please.
All right. Hi, my name is Quill Onstead and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour as a genderqueer member of the library community. Opponents of Drag Queen Story Hour love to bring up an alleged former mission statement for Drag Queen Story Hour, the national nonprofit. I did a little bit of digging between board meetings and discovered that the National 501c3 nonprofit, formerly known as Drag Queen Story Hour, rebranded to Drag Queen Story Hour in 2022 to be more inclusive. As far as I can remember, FVRLibraries did not contract with Drag Queen Story Hour for the 3 events held in 2019. The current Drag Story Hour mission statement reads, Drag Story Hour celebrates storytelling through the dynamic art of drag performance. Our network creates programming where audiences are invited to express their authentic selves and become bright lights of change. The statement is not nearly as fear-mongering as the alleged mission trotted out in past comments. In fact, scanning through the Wayback Machine archives, I couldn't find any version of the website where the mission statement included the words induce gender confusion. Maybe opponents of Drag Queen Story Hour found a copycat or a satirical website. FVRLibraries offers resources on how to check the credibility of a source. Drag Queen Story Hour is a vital program that teaches kids about gender identity in an age-appropriate manner. Parents who do not approve do not have to bring their children to any programs. Please allow the staff of FVRLibraries to present Drag Queen Story Hour and have the district live up to the ideals espoused in FVRLibraries' equity statement. Thank you for your service to the community and happy Pride.
Thank you, Quill. Next up in the room, we have Jake Osmus.
Oh, I'll try to. Hello, my name is Jake Osmus. I'm the chief shop steward at WPEA, and I've worked for this district for 9 years. I'm here as a private citizen, not as an employee. Recently, WPEA filed what is called an unfair labor practice against FVRL. This is due to the fact that FVRL is legally obligated to bargain hours, wages, and working conditions with its staff for a union contract. Instead of fulfilling their obligation, they, in my opinion, skirted our request, or even when they indulged, just chose not to bargain in good faith. So we are left with little recourse but to organize and fight for our rights. In addition to this, I believe they did not bargain with our sister union, ASME, either. We are excited as lifelong library users and employees for the expansion of hours, and proudly we are here for our community every day to fulfill those promises the district made. I truly hope FVRL fulfills its duty of bargaining in good faith with their workers, and until then, WPEA will refuse to withdraw the unfair labor practice. In addition to this, budget line items for temporary workers, which from September 2025 to January 2026 alone, seem to total $240,000. It's asinine. We are aware that we're still using temp workers at the operations center. We are aware that the cash flow at this point is far higher. In bargaining, you have me arguing over quarters of percents to get raises for your existing workers. In addition, temp status prevents workers from receiving benefits or having permanent employment. Hire workers as permanent employees, pay them their benefits, don't scam union labor, and bargain with your workers. Do better. Thank you.
Next up, we have Rachel Ernst. Rachel will be followed by Paula Sharon, followed by Nessa Eckerson.
All right, hi Bill. My name is Rachel Ernst. With that bureau for quite some time. I'm gonna date myself for a second and say when I started out, we used MS DOS and for catalog. And so I actually want to start the conversation, if it hasn't already happened, on looking at our policy in regards to AI. I don't know if that's come up yet, but I'd really love us to look at that. Specifically generative AI, those large language models AI, and how we use that both publicly and as an institution, so like the employees. My concerns are, off the top of my head, involve patron privacy. It's very easy to accidentally share patron information with metadata, with not scraping the metadata appropriately when using AI. I'm also concerned with the ransom data theft that happens with different AI companies, copyright theft, and environmental impact with using AI. And then also just the different ways that we need to navigate this tricky world we're in now. Like we're an organization that brings information and resources to our patrons. And right now it's harder than ever to know what is real and what is artificial. I've already experienced titles that are just completely made up. They don't exist. You know, and so, yeah, so just, I would like to see us working towards ensuring that we can continue to provide the best information for our patrons, because they trust us as the place to find information and correct information. So yeah, reference work, collection development.
Next up, Paula Sharon.
Hello, my name is Paula Sharon, and I'm here on behalf of their friends at the FVRLibraries Express. And mainly, I just wanted to welcome our new, appointees, or are they officially trustees? I wasn't sure. In any event, welcome to Ms. Cavanis and Mr. Mahar. I was very gratified to hear, actually to read in the Columbian their positions, cabinets being very, avid enthusiast about the library. And, Mr. Mahar, coming from Scandinavia, promising to represent the folks there, which is very encouraging because Scandinavia just had very large pride gatherings this past year. There is something in his application letter, and I know that he cannot respond in real time, but something down the road, I would really like to hear from him what he meant by this. There are many ways people seek out literacy, education, and freedom. That's our inner bylaws. Libraries are one way, but not the only way. We need to respect and hear those who choose other ways and who vote against library funding, yet still must pay the taxes. So again, I would just like him to elaborate on that at some point. Thank you.
Next up, Narissa Eckerson. Narissa will be followed by Margot Logan, followed by Randy Schmidt.
Good evening. My name is Narissa Eckerson. I proudly served FVRL and this community for 9 years. And I'm a dues-paying member of the Washington Public Employees Association, or WPEA. I'll be echoing some of Jake's comments this evening that WPEA employees have recently filed an unfair labor practice suit against FVRL with the Washington Public Employment Relations Commission. The ULP was filed because FVRL is not following the law requiring them to bargain with employees over hours and working conditions, as was the case in our recent changes in the hours of operation and staffing levels of all of our branches. It wasn't until the suit was filed that FVRL came to the bargaining table. FVRL staff supported and celebrated the passing of the levy lid lift. WPEA and AFSCME employees look forward to this expansion of services and hours to the community. As public employees, it's our job to serve the communities of our district. FVRL management's job is to follow the law and treat employees fairly. WPA will not withdraw the unfair labor practice suit until FVRL bargains these sweeping changes in good faith. Thank you.
Next up, Margot Logan.
Hello, I'm Margot Logan. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I devote library systems. And I tonight is a thank you. I made a public records request about a month and a half ago, and I'm pleased to say that you guys followed the law. I just try to remember how wonderful a library is. I would encourage all the libraries. I'm not seeing a celebration of our 250th birthday. I mean, all the libraries I've gone to recently, I mean, I go up and down the aisles, and like if tonight is like, I guess, Pride Month is a whole month. Maybe we can have a traditional family month. But we really need to share with people beginnings of our country. I mean, it's just fascinating. Young Washington is going to be coming out in the theaters pretty soon, and I'm really excited to go see that. But we have a rich history, and we should be showing that in our libraries. We should be having all kinds of displays the rest of the year, not just for 1 week or 1 day. So, but I love you guys. I mean, this board, all that I've seen in the last 7 years, there is much to respect. So thank you to the board.
Randy Schmidt. Randy will be followed by Gary Wilson, followed by Marla Cott.
Hello, I'm Randy Schmidt. Thank you again for allowing me to speak to you tonight. Once again, I'm here to request that you pass an official policy that ban drag queen story hours at your libraries. Drag queen story hours is a recent invention and expresses the express purpose of causing gender confusion in children. The dry cleaning store has since, yes, removed this from their website over the last year, but that wasn't their original version. And the reason they removed it is because it would be purposely trying to cause harm to a child, and who wants to see that? In the United States, as soon as a child shows any signs of gender confusion, counselors will immediately push that child to start the process of gender affirming care. How do we know that? Because we have women like Chloe Cole, who has been speaking and testifying in different places. She's testified in front of Congress recently that she's had gender confusion at the age of 13 and 14. And when she spoke to a counselor, they immediately pushed her to go the path of the gender affirming care. Since then, she's had her body altered and permanently changed and given a great unhappiness. And she's out basically trying to help people understand this is what that ideology takes you to, that damaging of your body that's forever. And I just pray that you would decide to pass this so that you can help the children and protect the children that are coming to your libraries. Dry Clean Story Hours, as you know, are targeting children as early as 5 years old. And so 5 to 8 is kind of your target age. And that's way too early for someone to be trying to read stories provocatively trying to change their gender. Thank you very much.
Gary Wilson?
I'm Gary Wilson. Thank you, library board members, for your service. And as always, please continue to err on the side of caution when it comes to programming and materials for your most vulnerable patrons, children. And thank you again for building into your strategic plan a caveat concerning intellectual freedom when it comes to children and respecting the wishes of the parents. And I usually like to sing at the end of the board meeting, but tonight there's a Battleground City Council meeting. They're doing a proclamation recognizing the traditional nuclear family, and I wanted to just go and thank them for that. So thank you again, and see you next month.
Marla Koch.
Hi, my name is Marla Koch. Three Creeks is my home library. Thank you again for your service. I know the library board commitment is a long one, and there are hours required from your life to do that. Last month, I spoke and said that I haven't seen any acts recently against equity in practice, but the word was stricken from the 5-year plan and was replaced with fair and inclusive. And I made the argument that since my house is assessed at more than the $400,000 average cost of a house in the library district, that I should be, for fairness, entitled to more because I pay more. Well, today I'm going to make the counter argument that if I can afford a house that costs more than average, perhaps I can afford to pay more, and that's fair to pay more if you can afford to pay more, so those who can benefit from a common good or the public library, which is what the library is supposed to be. So I'm still confused why a word like equity and equitable was stricken and replaced with the word like fair, which just adds confusion instead of clarity. I also have some concern about Richard Maker, who's about to enter your board. In addition to the comment that Paula made, he said in his letter of interest that he is committed to representing the taxpayers in the district, including the nearly 50% of Skamania voters who did not support the most recent library levy. So his county supported the levy, but he's calling out concern for those who didn't. So I'm a little nervous about a library board member who's not pro-library, so I'm just gonna. Thank you.
That is our last one. Lucian would like to just test to make sure that we can hear Olga very quickly.
Olga, please say something.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Before we close public comment, was there anyone that did not get a chance to sign up who would like to make a comment? Response? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion here? Thank you, Miranda. We call the roll, please.
Sure. Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye. We adopt the consent agenda, which includes the May speakers and the May report cards. And now we will move on to the financial statements.
Good evening. April is my favorite month for so many reasons, but one of the reasons you will see today is very directly related to our finances. So we will start on page 13 of 46 in your packet. This is our statement of cash. You will see here that our statement of cash or our cash balance at the end of April 2026 is just under 35 million. This is an increase from the beginning of the year of just over 16 million. And we are, of course, with that amount, meeting our 90-day cash on hand to pay our bills. If we move on to page 14 in your packet, this is a really exciting page. So this is where we see the realization of our levy lid lift and all the hard work that everybody put into getting that realized. But at the top of our property taxes, you will see in April, we brought in just over 22.5 million in property taxes. 84% in April, we brought in 84% in April of what we've brought in for the whole year. So we brought in just under 27 million for the year and 84% of that in April. If you look to the far right column, the year-to-date annual budget percent, you will see that we've realized 53% in Clark County. And the rest of the counties are less than that. That is because of the timing of how it gets into our treasurer's, Clark County treasurer system. They always lag a month behind. So you'll see the realization of that next month when we talk about May. Moving down to our miscellaneous revenues, I just want to continue to point out a couple of things here. Our investment interest will pick up in the second and third quarter of 2026, especially now that we have realized the first half of our property tax revenues associated with the levy lid lift. And our E-rate revenues are currently showing at 0% because we'll get those in the third 2026. Any questions on our revenues? All right, with that, we will move over to page 15, our statement of expenses. Overall, we're trending under budget. However, everything is overall meeting our expectations based on the things we know and expected for the year. So for example, our personnel budget is currently under our year-to-date budget expense. However, we know that this will right size itself once the settlement of the labor contracts are realized in here, as well as the impact of the new hours and all the hiring that's going on to support the new hours, the increased hours throughout the organization. The next thing I will talk about is the area of other services and charges. So our professional services budget covers so many things under that budget. There's accounting and audit fees for annual requirements. There's architect and engineering fees, professional services there that you would be amazed at how many things require. Every little project we do requires some architecture and engineering services. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the projects that are on the deck. The architecture and engineering fees for all of those projects and other professional consulting fees that are required for us to operate as a professional organization. Our intergovernmental services, we all know that that is the cost to be on the ballot for our levy lid lift. I expect this $6,000, just over $6,000 that was expended in April to be our last charge on that. So we will be underspent overall, but we'll continue to show a month over month theoretical over budget on that line item until then. And then finally, moving down to capital outlay. We of course have the Washougal project on here, and we have budgeted for other projects that you see little to no costs on year to date, showing, 3% on buildings owned and 0 on all of the other line items outside machinery and equipment. We are teaming up to do so much work. We have Dale elevator that's gonna get replaced. We have some study pods going in at the Vancouver branch for replacing the deck at Vancouver. The operations center needs a new roof and air conditioning replacement. We also have some tin improvements happening at the operations center, as well as Stevenson is getting some new windows.
When we do a new building, do those like architectural fees and things go under the capital outlay, or are those also under professional services?
That is a great question. They are under the capital outlay.
Okay, so the professional services, all existing building, new projects we're doing, okay.
Any other question?
What was the Yale 20,000 you got there?
Oh, the budget for Yale, the 20,000, that is a placeholder. So if Yale decides to do any capital projects, we'll do that for them and then get reimbursed dollar for dollar. Absolutely nothing yet. They have nothing planned, but we wanted to make sure they had something there in case they decided to do something.
Thank you, Katrina. Are there any other questions? All right, is there a motion to receive and file the April financial statements as presented?
So moved.
5 seconds. Is there any further discussion? Thank you, Brandon.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Irina Kakarina,
Aye.
Christy Morgan,
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye, will be approved for receiving the filing April. And,
Good evening. As the board members know, we still have 2 vacancies on the board. The last county to vote on those vacancies is Clark County, and it is on their agenda for tomorrow night. So assuming that vote happens, we would expect that those board members will begin their duties. I also have the privilege of being here in Ridgefield with our branch manager, Sean McGill, tonight. He'll be presenting to you later. But Sean started his career at FVRL as a sub between 1994 and 1996. In June of 1996, 30 years ago this month, he became a full-time staff member serving in the role of reference librarian in the District Information Services Department. 2 years later, in June of 1998, he took on the role of branch manager at the Washougal Community Library, where he stayed for over a decade. He probably wishes he was there now as we're building a new library, but he wasn't here. So in 2011, Sean transferred here to the Ridgefield Community Library's branch manager, where he's committed himself to serving the community, participated in the expansion of the Ridgefield Library, and continues to lead the amazing programs and services offered here. Congratulations and thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sean.
As you may know, Julian Mendez, our former communications and marketing director, left the district to move to a position in another organization. But here tonight, on her first day, so we have a 30-year person, now we have someone on their first day, is Sophie Ventura, who's joined us. Sophie brings a strong background in communications, community engagement, and storytelling. A lifetime Vancouver resident with deep ties to the area, she spent the past decade helping to tell the story of Vancouver's growth and change through her work with the city of Vancouver. And I'm going to just ask Sophie to introduce herself and say a few words.
I do get to stand on the xylophone. Thank you for having me tonight. Like Jennifer said, this is day 1. I'm so excited to be here. I've lived in Vancouver for now 15 years. I loved working in strategic communications with the city of Vancouver. Before that, I was doing fundraising and marketing for nonprofits in Oregon and Southwest Washington. And libraries are just, they're close to my heart because I was raised by a grandmother, and Hollywood Library was our Multnomah County local place. Every weekend, taking a wagon, about 14 blocks, filling that wagon up with books, taking it home. So not only a pathway for us to just explore and learn, but I think now what's really attracting me is that sense of community that libraries bring for people. And thanks for having me. Welcome. Thank you.
And moving to the report, tonight you'll notice a new format for the organizational report. The change is intentional and directly tied to the new strategic plan adopted earlier this year. Rather than organizing information primarily by department or activity, we're organizing it around the adopted strategic priorities and integrating statistics to balance quantitative and qualitative data in our reporting. The goal is to make it easier to see not only what we're doing, but how that work advances the outcomes our communities told us matter most. This format helps connect day-to-day operations with the larger vision of the organization. It also allows us to better track progress over time, identify trends, and focus more discussions on impact rather than activity alone. We will continue to make refinements to this report this year as we continue looking at how we measure and the stories that we bring you that demonstrate how our work is grounded in our mission, vision, values, and priorities. So as we dig into the report tonight, know that your feedback is welcome. If you have questions or want to see different changes, etc., please let us know. But we hope that it is much more brief than past reports, but still hopefully giving you a wonderful taste of all the great things happening around the district.
And I will just start with a couple of things that are super exciting. Summer reading starts today. So June 15th through August 15th. We have a summer reading program for not only children and youth, but also for adults. So really excited about that. I checked in with some of the branch manager team and everywhere has been really busy. Folks are excited. I saw a family coming in here when I first arrived and they were excited to sign up for summer reading. So always thrilling. And then also expanded hours started on June 1st. Really excited about that. Anytime we can reduce barriers to access for our communities is incredibly important. All of our branches are enjoying the expanded hours, evening as well as weekends. We do have at least one branch open on Sundays in every county. Kate, who you'll meet next month in person at the White Salmon, the new branch manager there, was really excited. White Salmon had 87 folks that walked through the doors on their first Sunday. So it's obvious that people value those extended hours and will utilize that. So we're excited about that. And then Jennifer is going to talk about stats.
I'm not going to read all the stats to you because we would be here a while, but just a few statistics in particular worth highlighting. Physical library visits continue to be strong, reflecting the community's ongoing reliance on our branches as welcoming public spaces and today cooling shelters. Digital engagement remains significant, showing the library access extends far beyond our buildings and continues to meet customers where they are. In fact, one of our friends of the library tonight asked me, when we do some work at the Yakult Library, will that library still have Wi-Fi on? And the answer is yes, because people have come to rely on Wi-Fi, especially in our rural areas. You'll often see people parked outside the libraries using it at all hours of the day and night. New library card registrations demonstrate that we're reaching new residents and creating new connections with the library. And program attendance highlights that communities' desire for lifelong learning opportunities, literacy support, and social connection continue to be strong. On page 18, I just want to point out, this is what I said a minute ago, but we are going to show you in some of these cases a 5-year trend month over month instead of just this month, this year over last month. So it gives you a better idea of what the trend's looking like. And what you can see in this graph at the bottom is that We have had growth in digital percentage of our checkouts by 14%, May of this year over May of 2022. So very strong growth. Today, 65% of the checkouts are digital. These numbers do not include renewals. And what we know is with the physical checkouts, we do have a lot of renewals, so that adds to the number. But this is the first time you check out an item. 65% is digital. That is huge growth. When you look at in 2022, it was 51%. So that is not surprising to us as we continue to see how people are using the collections. On page 19, if you look at the top, the collections by formats graph, 84% of that graph is still reading or listening to books. So that's a very strong element of what is provided and what people are using. And then at the bottom, further breakout shows that, again, in the category of physical collection, it's actually down since May of 2022 by 16%, whereas digital is up 35%. You can also look at the trends there and see that books, physical books is still the highest number. And then in the ebook area or e-collection area, e-audiobooks is the strongest at 46% of that type. So lots of great use of the collection, remembering that we are a district that serves rural, suburban, and urban areas, and that many of our urban areas still do not have good broadband access. And so when we look at our collections and how we spend, we always have to balance both that physical and digital presence, because we have many people that, for example, that might be streaming their shows on TV and others that could never stream because they don't have collection to do that. So DVDs still have strong checkouts, for example, in lots of areas.
And then just moving into strategic priorities under operational excellence, just wanted to talk about Clark County Bookmobile. This was something that was promised in the levy lift, and right now the larger bookmobile is on order, but we do have our outreach van finally nicknamed Priscilla. And Priscilla has had a little work done to be able to serve in that capacity. So our programming and outreach team, as we call POD, have worked really diligently and very hard to assess areas and places that could really benefit from having a bookmobile staff. So they've been working really, really hard. So we have lots of site visits planned for the summer to really give it a test run and see where we're going to end up when we do get our bigger bookmobile. So that is really exciting. And then under community connection and inclusion, just wanted to talk about the center just really quickly. Staff represented the library at the La Center Arts Fair in May, and staff always take an activity. They had folks making buttons, which is always really fun. And then Dorinda, our branch manager, led a story time about chameleons and an art activity. And this is just a really great example of an event where La Center staff was able to connect with 185. So that's always feels like a huge win and a success. So then if we move into library programs, collections, and services, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Vancouver. They do a really fun event every year. They do a murder mystery event, and I think most people love murder mystery events. They had a successful program with 88 adult participants. Patrons were dressed in period costumes. They had the opportunity to work together to solve a mystery. And again, it was a really successful and really fun evening. So folks really enjoyed that. And then just want to talk a little bit about spaces and technology. It was already mentioned, but the Vancouver deck is undergoing renovations and replacement. So the deck is currently closed. The work began in mid-May. It will be closed through the end of August. They are removing all of the wood structure and going to replace that. There's going to be some work done on the roof
And then as well as, if you all remember, there's some planters and some vegetation that we have up there. Those planters will be undergoing some work too, so that we can go back to having a really beautiful space there. And yeah, and that's all I have.
I like this, I have good experience, yeah.
So, are there any questions? All right. Sean, you're up.
All right. So first, let me thank the district for getting their outreach. Yeah, so the facility project in Ridgefield founded the public library here in 1914. So for me, that's an honor. Welcome. So again, welcome to the Ridgefield Community Library. It's a pleasure to present the report to you tonight. I have to tell you in the past, I've hated doing this, but I look at it as an opportunity to boast, and that's what I'm here to do tonight. So thank you for being here today. So the Friends of the Library put out Storybook Adventures, something new and awesome in July last year. And I reported on this upcoming program last June. Seems like forever. I don't think anyone was prepared for how popular it would be. But in hindsight, with fun activities for kids like giving out free books, special library themed cookies, and thing 1 and thing 2 made frequent appearances of beach balls up in the air. I'm not surprised. Library staff created an alchemist station where kids directed staff and team volunteers in the creation of unique inks using powdered chalk, baking soda, and vinegar. And I tell you, we had the most amazing mix of colors. But let's move on here too, because they got so much more. In the past, the Ridgefield Farmers Market hosted summer reading programs, but for the first time, the audience overflowed the space set aside for it. Who knew things would be so popular? Most vendors were delighted to see all of these potential customers. And we have 4 programs scheduled to be at the Farmers Market this summer. In another first, we over the summer last year performed avian autopsies at the library. So budding young scientists got to perform an autopsy of avian bodies made of jello that were made in gingerbread man cake molds. Young scientists learned about working together and following strict protocol. For the first time, we had a paid performer in over spring break this year with an appreciative audience on hand to enjoy music, juggling, and math and grace. Adult line dancing started as a new monthly program this spring and will transition to a weekly program in the fall due to popular demand. I can tell you the ladies who participate in it actually are reserving their own time on Wednesday after stitching, and they come in here to dance. For the first time, library staff provided children to throw axes in the library during music and movement with the theme of American folk music. But over the course of a year, those coming to this program became much younger. Staff took some stride and they adapted the program. I also wanted to share the photo on the right of the toddlers to highlight the power of social media. The mom who came to this program posted about how wonderful it was, and that single post brought 14 new people into the next session of the program, which is pretty amazing. I should say that these programs are from 2 different sessions.
taxes and talkers don't answer. During a community builds program, library patrons help staff remodel a dollhouse. The friends of the library purchased, building furniture, re-roofing it, and even bringing in a scooter for it. This is extremely popular with kids. It's a kids area with multiple uses every day. And Dungeons and Dragons, of course, is still drawing new participants. One of those new participants, after he learned the rules of basic play, was inspired to begin a tabletop role-playing club after school. And notice the kids leaning forward. You can tell that things are going to be exciting. Kids lean forward. And for the first time, the library is offering an adult tabletop role-playing session once a month. In Ridgefield, build that has moved far beyond Legos. Participants make things like telescopes or underwater viewers, books, and in this photo, sew ornaments for the winter holidays. Hometown is the city of Ridgefield's celebration of the winter holidays, and a huge draw between people downtown. In fact, the library typically over 1,000 people come through the doors. The Friends serve cookies and hot cider, and this year they organized a craft project for children. The library has a popular adult art chat program, and adding teen art chat this year made sense. Teens experiment with different art techniques, socialize and contribute to a wider community by creating art for other groups. In the other photo on the slide, teens are painting a Friends-sponsored Little Free Library before it's replaced on site in the community. Our Friends of Clark Commons Fire Rescue read at one of our regular story times. Children enjoyed the stories read by the fire personnel and spent an hour exploring the hook and ladder truck at one of the library's biggest story times. You know, go figure. That fire trucks would be popular, it surprised me.
Yeah, right.
That's the fire chief, really.
It is a fire chief, yes. He did an excellent job. Staff from the YMCA continue to lead a gentle strength stretch program here, which I'm still excited to be offering at the library. I feel like it's great, something for seniors that's active. Of course, nobody put adult finance too, but still, it's a good thing. The YMCA also put on Healthy Kids Day with the library, and they provided a series of activities for kids. The library brought out the axe throwing kits, a Tetris stacking set, and I guess the book title, where we grouped the words from the title, we just have to cover. With the Tootsie Lollipop as a prize. Now, I don't know if lollipops are very healthy. I suspect they're probably not. But the kids sure loved this activity and they came back multiple times. This year, a staff member attended Union Bridge Elementary PTA meetings, leading to library staff during the activities spring dance, science night, and trunk or treat. Starting in October next year, staff plan on attending Southbridge Elementary PTA meetings and bringing activities to that school. In addition, staff was in story time to all the kindergarten classes at Union Ridge and Ridgefield School District's Early Learning Center monthly. Next year, staff will present story time to all the first grade classes at Southbridge monthly. Staff were also invited to View Ridge Middle School STEM Industry Day, where they took magnetons to guarantee that students would stop, giving them a chance to talk about librarianship as a career. And we're all looking forward to the opening of the new elementary school here and doing outreach there. Thank you.
I thought you actually enjoyed it in the report. I talked to you. This is not again.
You notice how attractive my deep breathing before I thought up here.
Well, we're glad you enjoyed it now.
So next we have, first reading of the public records request policy.
So trustees, this first reading brings forward updates to the public records policy to ensure continued compliance with Washington law, alignment with current best practices, and support for FVRL's ongoing commitment to transparency and accountability. We use track changes from the current policy to assist you in seeing what is changing. The red crossed out lines mean we're eliminating the language. The red underlines mean we're adding the language. The green crossed out means we're moving the language, and the green underline means language coming from another area. So tonight, we are again just reading this for the first time as public records laws and related guidance evolve. It's important that our policies are periodically reviewed and updated. This review provided an opportunity to clarify procedures, update terminology, align responsibilities with current practice, and reduce the potential for confusion for both staff and members of the public. What we are looking for tonight is providing you with an opportunity between now and the next board meeting to ask questions and for us to receive any feedback before the policy returns for adoption.
I think my only suggestion, when we get these, I love that you have it like crossed out, means this and then means this, and you it was in there and I didn't see it with the index for when I forget what each piece means. Just trying to kind of search and figure out, oh, this one was totally deleted, you know what I mean? Because that's perfect description. But I did have one question on page 41 where it says, the crossed out, so that means just remove all. Yes. To provide full assistance to all requesters and prevent excessive interference with other essential, is that just because it's a little bit redundant from before?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And also it went into limiting the amount of time, and we don't believe that that should be in the policy.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see, thank you. That was my only question.
What edits? Or you can send them, either way, whatever you can do with that.
Oh, well, there's a couple of listed in the document where it says FVLR instead of FVRL. One is, near the top.
We can find those. Thank you.
And, RV 142.
Thank you.
Should I send those to Miranda and everyone?
Yeah, if there's only those two, we can sign them.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns about this policy, or ready to move on? Not specifically the verbiage, but in our committee meeting, we talked about how much this process costs the district. A lot. It's surprising, I don't know if it's appropriate to share any of that. For you to suggest it, or, at any rate, it can comment in passing, is, I was surprised at how.
See in the policy itself or like.
What, no, when there's a records request. I remind that,
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's staff time. Certainly it is a process that was designed before computers in the law. And today, obviously, all of our records are primarily digital, mostly born digital. And so there is definitely time and effort that goes into processing all of these requests. Sometimes the requests are simple. For example, they might ask something about a board agenda. I'm making this up, but we can then send them right to the website for things that are already on the website. But other times they'll ask for things that are related to a topic. It could be related to asking for emails on a certain topic. It could be asking for any number of things. We've had requests that have taken months to process because of the thousands and thousands of records that are created. And so We take it seriously, certainly it is the law, but the law was really intended to make sure the public understands the operations and, how things are happening. And what has occurred is that there's more and more, requests that are really more about, sometimes political agendas. For example, we don't get to decide that. And so there's certain things, that while it takes a lot of time and sometimes you wonder who's reading the 15,000 emails they've requested, we don't get to ask questions about that. The things we do ask is when, somebody sends a question in to public records and it's not clear. We can ask for clarifying questions to really get, scale the request down so that, people are actually getting what they're asking for. Sometimes, you know, whether it's this or it's reference questions, people aren't always asking for what they actually want. So that's part of this process as well. So it used to be, years ago, I can't think of how many years right now, but within the last decade, we had very few requests for public records. Since Drag Queen Story Hour in 2019, those requests have gone up year after year and since the pandemic as well. This year, I believe we're in, and Brett's here, so is it about 50?
We are somewhere in the low 50s with public records requests as of today.
Yeah, so about the low 50s already year to date, halfway through the year. Some of those are very quick. Some of those take hours and hours to process through and get those up. So yes, it is a cost to us. We are not unique. All local governments are seeing this kind of increase in intensity and dedicate staff to this process. Like we have Brett now as our public records officer. So does that answer your question? Thank you. Great, we'll move on for comments.
Thanks, everyone. Our next meeting will be Monday, July 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at White Sand Valley Community Library in Monsoon. And is there any questions adjourned? Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Absolutely.